So, Nitro 129, also March 2nd, 1998. I think I neglected to mention that at the opening of the show. March 2nd, 1998, everybody.
19 years ago this week, everybody. It's the easiest way to find it.
The NWO shows up in a limo, and we watch them walk backstage for a while. Chris Benoit versus Scotty Riggs in the opener. Short match. They brawl back and forth. Benoit hit the Rolling Germans in the crossface and won. And the announcers were sure to point out the flock did not attack Benoit after the match because they knew they would get their ass kicked.
My favorite part of this match is they're outside and Benoit's beating up on Lodi. Mm-hmm. And Riggs flies through the air and hits Benoit. And I guess he didn't hit him hard enough because Benoit just kept beating on Lodi. So Riggs had to try it again. Or maybe Benoit thought, I have not given this man a sufficient beating, and thus I'm not going to sell for you until I've beaten him severely.
This is not like a few weeks ago when Hall hit somebody with a baseball bat and was trying to pull it, protect them, and so they didn't know they were hit.
Right.
Riggs waffled Benoit, and Benoit just didn't care. He just kept on beating Lodi. I like Lodi's sign that just said for no reason, Bobby Heenan is great. Because he is.
Nick Patrick was the official for this. Nick Patrick has cut his mullet and clean shaven. I guess he's not a heel anymore.
Ready for his 43rd turn in this program. The announcers said Randy Savage had been named Harvard Lampoon's Real Man of the Year.
I remember this vividly from the time.
And they added, and this is a quote, and you know something like that has to stick in the craw of Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he got a comedy award.
I love wrestling sometimes.
Dude, they played it up like this was a big, important, legitimate award.
Yes.
It's fucking great.
So they showed Randy visiting the Harvard campus to accept his trophy in person.
I mean, really, if there were a Real Man of the Year award, I mean, Randy Savage, a guy like that should get it.
Sure. But they edited this whole presentation in NWO style with rapid cuts and music and all that. Hogan and Bischoff came out for a promo. I'm done with these two. I don't need to see them ever cut a promo again. I know I'm going to see them cut a promo every week for like 3 more years.
Vinny, there's so much bad stuff we've been watching that this is not near the top of the list. They just come out and talk.
Yes.
So you'd rather watch the Headbangers than these two guys come out every week?
No, the Headbangers.
JEFFJARRETT.
Those are both worse than Hulk Hogan talking.
The fucking DOA.
That is.
I could go on and on.
If Bischoff would turn his hat right side,
that would
be so annoying.
You and this hat.
What do you mean me and this hat?
It's
Vinny had the same problem.
This is the second week in a row you've mentioned his hat.
That's untrue. Vinny mentioned it last week. It's annoying.
No, it was you. It was definitely you that brought it up.
It was me.
You are wrong once again.
Anyway, brother.
I'm going to go get the clip here in a minute.
Brother, dude, Jack Pythons for life. What you going to do? Buried Savage for winning Real Man of the Year and failing to keep his marriage together. Well then. He vowed to beat Savage in the cage match and Uncensored. Mean Gene and the Nitro Girls were at St. Joseph's University for a Nitro party. There were loud screaming geeks everywhere.
Hey, the spring break Nitro's coming. Thank God.
Your favorite.
Yeah. If they would have just stayed there, they'd still be in business today.
They went out of business there.
Well, I mean, it'd been booked in advance.
That's true. Yeah.
Bunch of drunken frat boys and the Nitro Girls. Talk about bringing lambs to the slaughter.
I'm pretty sure these women could have defended themselves against these guys.
That's true.
There was one point, because there's like 8 of these shoots in the show, and there's one where they were like dancing, had fans dancing with them.
Yes.
And one guy had his arm around a woman's waist. And like, just watch that hand, man. Leave it right where it is and you'll be okay.
Easy.
Yes.
Don't go north. Don't go south either.
No. Chavo Guerrero Jr. versus Juventud Guerrera. It was Hoovy's first appearance on Nitro without his mask. I don't know if there was a dark match or something, but Chavo was coated in glitter. Do you guys notice this?
Nope.
Glitter all over his back.
Nitro Girls weren't there.
I was just gazing into Hoovy's eyes. I think I said gaving, actually.
You did say that.
Listen, the funniest thing on this whole show, we'll get to it later, was when Conan called out Hoovy.
Oh, jeez.
He wanted a match next week. And he said he was going to give him a match and an audition with the Nitro Girls. Mm-hmm. Fucking howled. Guy's way better off without his mask on. He was a handsome youngster.
He is very man-pretty.
Still fucking terrible. I shouldn't say that.
This was one of his better days.
The match was all right. It was a little clunky. Yeah. There were a lot of moves.
He pulled off most of them.
He did pull off a lot of them.
He won with a Michinoku driver in the 450 splash. And he cut a promo holding his mask saying, "This is not the end, it's the beginning." This was good. Psychosis from Prince Iaukea was not good.
I remember, if we go back to it was, I guess, 2 years ago when we were reviewing 1995, 1996, and Prince Iaukea is out there, and The Rock's on the other channel, and I remember remarking at the time, you know what, this Iaukea right now, at this point in his career, is better than The Rock. How that's fucking changed. One guy went straight up, other guy went straight down. Iaukea was so horrible here. They did a spot where Psychosis whipped him in, and drop kicked him, but Iaukea just ran right through it. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know why. How do you run? He got hit with a drop kick and just ran right through it. And then he takes like 2 steps. He realizes, I just ran right through that drop kick. Mm-hmm. And he just puts on the brakes and turns around and then
he looks
grabs the guy.
Beyond the sloppiness and the clunkiness and the botched moves, he looked so totally disinterested from start to finish. He wasn't in pain when he was on defense. He wasn't happy when he was on offense. He looked bored to be alive.
Well, dude, I was bored watching this match. It went on forever. Psychosis finally hits a guillotine leg drop and then pulls him up at 2. I turned on Psychosis. I never need to see this guy again as long as I live. I was infuriated. Everybody chants boring. And then Iaukea pinned him.
With a fucked up top rope victory roll.
Sad, I wrote here with an exclamation point.
Now remember, when he came back from Japan, he had a month of pretty good
Well, can we send him back to Japan then?
Exactly.
Yes. So nobody cared about this win, including Iaukea, who was just going to walk away. The ref says, let me raise your hand. Iaukea says, okay. The ref raises his hand, and Iaukea goes to the back. Completely bored with his own win. Raven versus Disco Inferno.
Hey, this was a good match.
Well, they were in Philadelphia.
All of the things I hated on this show, they actually had a good match.
They were in Philadelphia, and they loved them some Raven, and later on they loved them some Public Enemy, but we will get to that momentarily.
Dude, I'll talk about it right now. They were in Philadelphia, but guess what? Public Enemy did not have a good match.
No.
So the city didn't have anything to do with this match being good. They worked well together.
It was good. Is there anything weirder than Babyface Disco Inferno?
Dude, he's been a babyface forever.
It's just weird. So, yes, had a fun match. A lot of brawling, a lot of chair shots. And finally, a drop to hold onto a chair and a DDT, and Raven wins. They had clips of Public Enemy signing autographs. Gene interviewed a police officer about spring break. Then interviewed a kid who had won a spring break trip to Florida. Who wants to talk about Public Enemy first?
Dude, I will. Was it you that said that this was the worst Public Enemy match you ever saw?
Yes, sir.
What do you make of that, Vinny? I disagree vehemently.
I have seen worse Public Enemy matches.
I said it might have been the worst. This was not good. And the tables weren't even cooperating in this match.
Well, there was that. I actually thought this match was okay.
Oh, Brian.
I did. It had Barbarian in it. It had the Public Enemy.
And that's where it stops.
It was a mess. I'll give you that.
Barbarian traded in his Ming for a Hugh Morris.
This is a poor decision.
That was not an. That's like going to the dealership and never mind.
Listen, here's what I can say about this, okay? That Headbangers match that we saw earlier tonight was a mess.
Yeah.
But it also sucked.
Yes.
This was a mess, but it was exciting.
Fair.
Now, I will say that they pre-cut a table that they were going to use for the finish.
Yes.
Dude.
I don't know why.
Public Enemy was unaware about what it... So, a table breaks your fall.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Why would you pre-cut it?
I don't know.
You morons?
Well, maybe Hugh Morris isn't big enough to... Oh, never mind.
Yeah. They put Hugh Morris on this pre-cut table, and it didn't... It couldn't have gone any better, actually. It didn't snap. It just slowly melted.
Yeah, it slowly folded. Everybody boos because they recognize a pre-cut table. Which actually they should have been cheering because that makes it a harder bump.
Well, it's actually
It always makes me laugh, people who have not... It seems so obvious to me, and maybe it's just because I did wrestle a little bit. But yes, going through tables doesn't hurt that bad, and pre-cutting them makes it worse. Why did they pre-cut it?
This was the second table used in the match as well. The first one wasn't pre-cut.
Let's talk about that first table. So it's Public Enemy's table, they said.
Well, yeah, because they...
So these idiots,
They labeled them.
they spent the time to get some fucking tape and tape TPE on the table.
Right.
Not PE.
Yeah.
They're not Public Enemy.
That's the rap group.
Yeah.
They're the Public Enemy.
Yes.
Now, saying that, their jerseys just have PE.
Sure.
There's no T. I was like, did you have to make a T? That's what bothered me the most about this
Would
goddamn
Chuck
match.
D have sued you?
Yeah, what the hell?
So, yeah, the first table spot was they attempted to put Jimmy Hart through a table, and
Oh, my God. They ripped Jimmy Hart's shirt off.
Yes.
He's running around with no shirt on.
he had the best tan in the match.
Well, he had the best tan. He did not have the best body.
He
Although
had
I didn't
the
see
second
Johnny-
best body.
I didn't see Johnny Grunge with his shirt off.
So, I thought he did look much better than I would have expected. For a guy who's close to 60 when this happened.
He wasn't close to 60 when this happened.
That was I had low expectations for Jimmy Hart's physique. He exceeded them. Anyway, so this fucking table spot with Hart on the table, it takes him like an hour to break it up.
Like how Jimmy Hart's always been almost 60.
He has, actually.
Perpetually.
Yes. Anyway, the Public Enemy go through it, and then they're just on their feet a minute later. The pre-cut table spot hit a leg drop on Morris, and they pin him, and sucked it was pointless.
He was 54.
That's kind of close to 60.
It's kind of close to 60.
Closer to 60 than a 40.
But he's 73 now, which is also kind of close to 60.
No, it's close to 80. You always round up
Oh.
when you're trying to make a guy sound old.
So you're 50?
Yeah.
How that works?
Yes.
Okay, we got it.
Actually, I am 60. Randy Savage came out for a promo. He did have the NWO logo on this week. Promised to do business with Sting tonight to face Hogan and Scott Hall, but they were going to do business his way. So Sting comes out, tells Savage to wait a minute, calls out Hall, warns him he's dead. He addresses Savage. It says, "For 16 months, I watched you stand by Hogan's side. Tonight, we're going to fight Hogan, and we're going to do business, but I can only do business my way." He left.
Never found out what that meant.
No. Sick Boy versus Goldberg.
All right, Vinny. Tell me right now. You tell me with a straight face that Sick Boy is better than Pietrov. Because he's not.
Who is not in this match.
He's worse. Vladimir Pietrov is better than Sick Boy. And Vladimir Pietrov is at least working with good guys every night, so within about 2 months, he's going to be way better than Sick Boy, who I don't think ever wrestled, except occasionally on television, having hideous matches.
This was very bad.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
He goes for one springboard move,
Oh, yeah.
and Goldberg just kind of catches him in a chokeslam and throws him down to the mat. So that was cool. Then like 10 seconds later, he tries another springboard, and he jumps up, and his feet hit the middle of the rope, and the next thing you know, he's flying out of control halfway to Goldberg and lands on his ass in the middle of the ring. I will concede, Brian, Vladimir Pietrov never did anything that bad. That I will admit.
At least Vladimir could jump off the top rope successfully
And land.
grab a man's neck.
He could obey gravity.
He went to do the springboard, and it's like his right foot slipped out from under him, and he just crashed on the mat.
Then Goldberg had to figure out what to do.
Yes.
And his response was, "I'm going to get you." That's what he did.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It caught Goldberg so off guard, he almost fell down. In sympathy. He hit a spear from the side. So
He
it
had
was
a pounce.
He hit a pounce, yeah. And a jackhammer for the win. And a music video for Stuck Mojo.
Dude, this was the greatest thing
I was gonna say
in
the
all
same
of the
thing.
night. This saved the Attitude Era. They've earned another 6 months before I give up because of this.
So here's the story, okay?
Now let me tell the story.
All right, have at it.
There's a band called Stuck Mojo.
Not anymore.
Okay, there was.
They're Fozzy now.
So they've got a video that was gonna be on MTV, but Nitro scooped them. So it's fucking hilariously terrible. It's a bunch of skinny geeks screaming, and then the Flock shows up. They're, I guess, performing in a ring. The Flock shows up, including Ron Reese, who looks like a giant hornswoggle.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the story of the music video. Let's start with that. The story the music video is telling
Behind the music.
is these skinny geeks are in there doing a concert in a goddamn wrestling ring at the 321 Battle Arena here in Seattle. There's like 30 people there in this tiny building.
Don't knock it.
The
till you try
fucking
it.
Flock shows up, and they start beating up the band.
Yeah. As one does.
DDP is there. And he's like, God damn, I got to do something about this.
First, he's got to finish his cigar.
Yeah,
he's looking on in disapproval, but this cigar is not going to smoke itself.
He smokes a whole cigar first. He goes down there. He beats up all of the bad guys single-handedly. He ends up giving Hammer the big diamond cutter, and everybody's happy. So I'm watching this, and I'm just going, I got to watch this again. So watch it again. I'm like, this is just the craziest fucking thing. It's the same song. Like, WWE didn't have to put a new song in, which would have been hilarious. They had a different song these guys are lip syncing to. Go back, and DDP is with Mike Tenay. Here in March of 1998, they come on national television, and they explain that it was a shoot.
Yes.
That is the best
Stuck
part.
Mojo was filming a video
Right.
in one take, apparently.
Yes.
And a bunch of fuckers ran in, the flock, and they started beating up the band members.
Yes.
But thank God that DDP was there.
Yes.
And in the course of the length of the song,
Right.
which, by the way, how they kept singing when they were getting beaten up in this one take, I'm not sure how that happened.
Well, it's
but
not
they
very good
did.
music, so
He saved the day.
Yes. When they introduced this video, Shivani let us know that Paige had been invited to be there for this video shoot because he did the thing in the beginning. But then Raven and the flock had tried to ruin things, and fortunately Paige had been there to save the day. This is a real thing that happened in WCW world.
By the way, kids, if you're going to attempt to smoke a cigar in the amount of time it takes for one song, you're going to be ill.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, DDP pulled it off.
DDP is cooler than any kid
Which
listening to the show.
I can believe,
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
I think he could have ate that cigar. I took one look at that guy.
So yes, this was awesome.
Unbelievably
Raven
great.
and the flock
Like hideous, but
tried
unbelievably
to
great.
ruin a music video because they couldn't stand Stuck Mojo.
Now, the best part is that there was fans all around all four sides of this ring, and they were losing their minds. And as DDP was dispatching of the flock, the crowd said, "These people need to body surf."
Yeah.
And they took these evil men and they body surfed them as
Well-
they hit the crowd.
As the flock was throwing guys out of the ring, they were also doing their own stage dives. The only part of this I remembered was Kidman doing a shooting star press into the crowd.
Yes.
Because it was awesome. It was unbelievably awesome. But then even during the fight, like Paige backdrops Kidman over the rope and the crowd catches him.
Now,
I want to go back there and watch this again. I love this.
I loved it too, and I gotta defend WCW here. So, as absolutely preposterous as this was, and it was, the thing was, they got a lot of publicity being in a Stuck Mojo music video that was going to air on MTV. And Diamond Dallas Page is feuding with The Flock. So, there's no other way to explain this without blatantly breaking kayfabe.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So Diamond Dallas Page is there working with the flock and doing moves on them. You can't come out and say that. It was like they were...
That would have been worse.
Either way, they were fucked.
I don't think they were fucked the way they did it.
Well,
I think it was awesome the way they did it.
it was awesome, but it was absolutely ridiculous.
Of course it is.
And then Hammer comes out.
So
We got the rematch. from
Goddamn
last
Hammer
week.
didn't learn his lesson. Like, you idiot. We just watched you get a diamond cutter.
yeah.
These two wrestled last week, and then Diamond beat him up in a music video, and this is the rubber match.
So yeah, they wrestle a while. Hammer does a blatant low blow right in front of the ref. Page hits a wacky diamond cutter variant, and Raven attacks for the DQ. A theme that will repeat through the rest of the show. So there's a brawl going on. Benoit runs out to make the save. Page accidentally punches him, and they have a three-way brawl. More clips from the college party. We got Bret Hart coming out for a promo.
Got a Beavis and Butthead sign on TV. Can't even believe it.
He runs down the NWO. He promises to beat Kurt Hennig. The best line he says, "By the way, my dad could beat up your dad."
It was so awesome because there's one man in all of professional wrestling that could unironically say that line.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
be deadly serious about it. And it's Bret Hart.
Absolutely. Stu could beat the axe.
And can you imagine that Bret Hart gets fucked in Montreal And WCW signs away the guy that got screwed out of the title. He's the rightful WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He never lost the belt fair and square. And his first match on Nitro is with Crush.
Brian Adams. Yeah, that's not how I would have done it either. He did say he would beat Brian Adams tonight.
Not to mention, they got Davey Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had one horrible, awful match after another, including tonight with Scott Norton.
So Scott Norton and Davey Boy Smith. Could Ted Turner's multi-billion-dollar entertainment media conglomerate have found a worse version of Rule Britannia for Davey Boy's music? Did they have an old 1930s vinyl record playing and hold like one of those big the big phonograms with the big horn, and hold a microphone up to that?
I like to think that Lee Marshall was holding his phone up to a
phone. That's even better, yeah. So they had a 2-minute mean guy match, and they're brawling on the floor. Norton shoves down the ref. The ref calls for the DQ. That was a waste of time.
Now listen. As much as we ranted and raved about the Headbangers finish on Raw and how the director missed 5 fucking minutes of the finish, at least afterwards, they showed a replay. So we actually found out what happened, and Vinny was able to go write it down. These guys have a 2-minute match, the bell rings, the announcers have absolutely no idea what happened. They don't know if it was a countout, they don't know if it was a DQ, they have no idea what the finish is, and then they just left. There was no replay, there was no clarification.
I did not need a replay. It was all on camera.
It would have been nice if they would have at least alerted the announcers, since it's their job to tell us what happened.
Oh, that's true. Conan comes out for a promo.
He's the Hamburglar, right? He is.
I could see that. Yes.
Google it.
No, I remember the Hamburglar. It just caught me off guard.
He looks exactly like the Hamburglar.
Huh.
Minus the mask.
No, he had the sunglasses.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. The more I'm thinking about this.
Okay.
The point is, the guy from the evil, hated, vile New World Order comes out there and sucks up to the Philly crowd.
Yep.
Gets himself over.
Also from ECW back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there a thing he literally stole music, as in like the cassette tapes music were on? I seem to recall this happening. So Conan says Hoovy is a punk Mark Buster because he lost his mask.
Mm-hmm.
Leads to Conan versus Super Calo.
They didn't have a good match.
We watch a lot of matches on Nitro, and they do a lot of styles clashes because it's Nitro. They'll throw 2 guys out there. And we see a lot of luchadors who set the bar high, and they try some high-risk stuff, and sometimes they don't pull it off. We saw Sick Boy earlier fall on his ass. They bought something so badly here where they just stopped and stared at each other.
They ran into each other, and then time stood still as they both sat and looked at each other, trying to figure out what they're going to do next.
And everyone just started booing. Here was a classic WCW moment. They announced at the pay-per-view that Raven would face Chris Benoit and DDP in a 3-way match, a triple Jeopardy match, I think they said. Then they realized they had no idea what the rules would be, or how you would win, or how you'd be eliminated. They had no idea what was going on. Conan wins with the Cradle DDT and the Tequila Sunrise. He goes after Super Calo's mask until Hoovy hits the ring. And I thought, okay, Hoovy's going to attack him and Conan will run away. Or something. Hoovy hits the ring, and they stand there and chat. Hoovy and Conan have a conversation. Here was where Conan said, I will give you a match next week and an audition for the Nitro Girls. And he left, and Hoovy doesn't speak English well enough to understand what he says, so he just shouts the English he knows, I want a match, over and over again.
You know Conan's finisher, that 187 move that he does, and then he follows it up with the stupid submission hold?
Yeah.
He shouldn't have used that submission hold. That finisher, the 187 where he cradles a guy and hits the DDT, that should be his finish. I know he doesn't have to worry about it now. But,
Well, maybe he wanted 2 moves.
But then don't use them both in the same match.
Gotta get them both over, brother.
All
Who
right.
cares? Got far bigger fish to fry.
They showed Brian Adams turning on Bret Hart a few weeks ago. Ric Flair came out for a promo.
Best thing on the show.
Aside from Stuck Mojo, this was the best thing on the show.
The first thing that I thought was, it is too bad that Mean Gene is at that party at St. Joe's, because I don't get to hear Ric Flair say Mean Gene's name.
Mm-hmm.
And then Flair says, like, word for word what I had been thinking. It's too bad I'm not at that party with Gene and the college girls, but I've got to see this main event. So Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude come out, and they're in Philadelphia, and Flair makes a hockey joke.
God, you know that I just got to mention, that's one of those things that, like, Flair had to explain why he wasn't at a college with a bunch of college chicks.
Yeah.
I got to see this main event.
That's a lie.
Flair put everybody over.
Yes, he did.
They just tried to make an explanation for it that also put over the main event. Good for you, Rick.
So Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude come out, and Ric Flair makes a hockey joke referencing the Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, mentions a man named Jaromir Jagr, who compared them to Hennig, because Hennig was the heel and Jagr played for the other team, so the Philadelphia fans would boo him. The reason I bring all of this up is just to point out that here we are, it is February 28th, 2017, Jaromir Jagr still playing in the NHL.
Wow.
That's amazing. So they jibber-jabbered a bit. Flair challenged Hennig to a one-on-one fight. Hennig accepted.
Dude, Jericho's still wrestling.
Jericho was
in
also
the
still wrestling.
WWE.
That is also true. So Hennig accepts this fight. The crowd just goes apeshit for Flair whipping Hennig's ass. It's the best.
God, it was awesome. He's there in his street clothes beating the hell out of this guy. Rude comes in. You know, another thing that I blocked out of my mind is how physical Rick Rude was when he was just a manager. He started laying the boots in, punching the guy, stomping a mud hole in him.
So the end of this brawl, this not sanctioned match, just a fight, Hennig hits a fisherman's suplex with a bridge. And Rude slowly removes his jacket, carefully hangs on the ropes, and then drops down and counts 3. This is almost as good as the Stock Mojo video. So Bret finally runs out to make the save and chase them away. So, I think it was just a week ago, Scott Steiner finally turned on his brother, joined the NWO, and got a whole new look. Cut his hair, dyed his hair, got new gear. He's a new man. Here he is on Nitro for his re-debut for the new Scott Steiner. Who did they dig up to have him face? Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
All right, now before we get to this, I'm looking at my notes here. Something happened before this match. I'm just going to read what I wrote. I wrote, Gene interviews a bird at the Nitro party.
Yes.
And I thought, I honest to God, a second ago when I read that back to myself, I thought, I can't remember the last time that I referred to a girl as a bird. Like, what the fuck? And then I realized, wait a second. He interviewed a bird.
There's a mascot.
There was a man dressed up as a bird.
Yeah.
Or maybe a woman, I don't know. And Gene interviewed the bird. And then started talking about ornithology or whatever the fuck the bird watching is called.
Ornithology.
Ornithology.
And then
What the hell's going on?
And then Bobby fired back with, "Did you see the beak on that chick with the feather dress?"
Lodi was right. Bobby Heenan is great.
All right, now let's get to this Scott Steiner-Jim Duggan match. When I saw Jim Duggan come out, man, I was rubbing my hands together, salivating, just getting ready. Oh, man, I'm going to just tear this shit apart.
You want a moment?
And then they had a decent match. Scott Steiner and Jim Duggan.
It was better than I expected, yes.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to promote this Steiner fella...
It was very weird.
Yeah.
They went back and forth.
I would not have chosen a man bigger than him.
Well, that was the weird thing.
I would not have chosen a man older than him, although I will say Scott took one belly-to-belly suplex, and he took that double underhook that's kind of half suplex, half powerbomb.
Duggan.
Good for him, he took those moves.
Yeah.
But I'd have found the smallest guy I could have found.
Well,
I had Scott suplex him 8 times.
It's not even that. It's, first off, Steiner just turned. He's in the NWO. He should just squash somebody.
Yes.
He went back and forth with Duggan for like 5 minutes.
Yes.
Duggan is gigantic. Like, this was Scott Steiner. He was not at his peak, but he was very, very big. And Jim Duggan is not ripped, but he was
big.
Way bigger than Scott.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah, he threw him around and then reclinered him.
He won with the belly-to-belly and the camel clutch.
Much better than I expected.
That's fair. Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho versus Booker T and Dean Malenko.
You know what? Let me say one more thing about that match. So, the reason I thought it would be so horrible is you think of Scott Steiner, and he's like a crazy man, and he does all sorts of this wild shit, and he throws people in the air, and he suplexes them, and he tosses them off the top rope and everything like that, and I'm thinking, man, Duggan can't do any of this. But what I neglected to think about was the fact that even though his character, Big Papa Pump, was a crazy man, And in real life, he did bump into a construction worker and get in big trouble for that in his car in a road rage incident. But he's still a professional wrestler. And he looked at Jim Duggan, and he thought, how can I work around this man for 5 minutes? And he did. And it was a decent match. Sometimes you gotta idiot-proof it.
That's true.
And he did it here.
Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho versus Booker T and Dean Malenko. Why weren't Eddie and Chris just a full-time team for like 5 years? Now, I realize
WCW.
They're both unbelievably awesome, so anything they did would have, and in fact was unbelievably awesome anyway. But this is the best team I ever saw. And they did like 3 matches. They're so great. This is a short match, but it was awesome while it lasted. Guys were flying all over the place. And then Malenko, who was a match with Jericho at the pay-per-view, caught Jericho in the cloverleaf, and Booker T held Guerrero's foot so Guerrero couldn't break it up, and Jericho tapped out and Malenko won. This all made sense. These are short but glorious.
Let's talk about the most notable thing. They announced on Thunder, the over-the-top rope rule has been rescinded.
Probably because they watched Raw the last 2 weeks.
February, March of 1998, they finally rescinded that stupid rule.
A bunch of NWO dudes came out for a promo. Scott was with them, and he explained that today they were going to induct his brother Rick into the NWO. So Rick Steiner and Ted DiBiase come out. And Rick hits the ring, and he's all smiles. He does the too sweet thing with everyone in there. And Kevin Nash holds up a shirt. He is sure to mention these shirts are available at the merchandise stand as we speak.
I just love that Kevin Nash did the induction speech, which was very nice given he and Hall tried to kill the Steiners in an automobile accident a year earlier.
That's true.
Things happen, Brian.
I guess.
You can't live in the past.
You can't. Or this business would be really stupid.
So Nash gives the shirt to Rick, and Rick takes it, but then throws it in Nash's face and punches him, and he runs wild for a while, and he basically clears the ring, and he's going after Scott, and Scott, of course, is backing away and backing through the ropes, and everyone else swarms Rick and attacks him.
So Rick's plan was to go down to the ring with 5 men and attack them.
Kick all their asses.
Very close to Geek of the Week territory here.
They never said he was a bright man. They said he was
Actually, they did. They spent the whole thing talking about how he was smart.
I see.
And in the Scott Steiner match, the announcers were going on and on about how, Rick barks, but he calms his brother, and he's intellectual.
They did suggest Rick was the smart one.
Then this shithead comes out here like a complete idiot. Like he was Ziggler.
He's a little overconfident in his ability to beat up five champion wrestlers. So as they're destroying him, Nash is about to hit a powerbomb when Giant shows up. Actually, first he tries the powerbomb, but Rick, I sincerely believe, backdropped his way free.
I thought it was a shoot because I was like, did I just see Kevin Nash bump?
Yes.
Like, there's no way that was planned.
It's that he took a bump, but the way he goes up and the angle he's at, this is like Rick says, fuck this. He just threw this guy through the air. Threw this giant through the air because he wanted to and he could. So he's gonna try it again when Giant shows up and everyone flees, but Nash, too slow after the backdrop, can't flee in time. Giant, who is wearing a neck brace, starts throwing headbutts. Bad plan. But it ends, he grabs Nash, he hits Nash's own powerbomb. It looks awesome, and maybe it's because it was his own move, but Nash sold this for all he could. He took this giant bump in the middle of the ring, and his full dead man's pose, he's laid out there, and a minute or two goes by when they go to commercial, he has not moved yet.
Well, after he dumped Giant on his head and neck a couple weeks back, I would have done my best to make sure that Giant's powerbomb looked great.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. So the powerbomb is still banned, so security says, Giant, we have to handcuff you and take you out. Giant holds out his wrists, but they're huge and thick because he's a giant. And so the handcuffs won't fit. And so security says, oh well, and Giant walks away.
Remember that if you're ever going to be incarcerated.
Officer, you have to let me go. I'm big.
Hey, it worked.
It did work.
Nash is big too. It didn't work for him.
He's not giant big. Brian Adams versus Bret Hart.
Oh boy.
A crappy match. Adams pulled off a turnbuckle pad right in front of the ref. Ref didn't care. He ended up getting thrown into it. Bret puts on the sharpshooter when what appears before my eyes but Curt Hennig attacking for the DQ. Bret Hart can't get a win in his first match on Nitro.
No.
Against Crush.
Dude, and we were talking earlier. Idiot-proof the match. That's what he did here.
Sure.
Bret went in there and he idiot-proofed the match.
With that said, he trusted Bryan Adams to deliver a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and
That's one of the only moves he can do.
He almost dropped Bret Hart.
Well, I'm sure he did. But he did do that move all the time. And it's... Everything I've ever heard when these guys talk about Bryan Adams, I think everyone liked him. So, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Bret can't get a win. Hennig attacks for the DQ, and the three men are all brawling as we go to break. We had Sting and Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall.
We had another classic with Buffer out there. And he gets to do his big fancy intros for Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall. And then Sting and Savage come out, and he's right about to introduce them when they all hit the ring for a brawl, and he just flees and goes, "Let the match begin!"
The match begin. That's right. Somewhere in this show, by the way, I forgot to write it down. I think it was the Steiner segment with the NWO. But there's a bunch of NWO guys coming out, and Buff Bagwell had been Buff Bagwell up to this point. And he took a sign from a fan that identified him as Buff Daddy. He thought it was the greatest thing ever. And he's showing it to all his friends, and they're like, "That is a cool name. You should call yourself Buff Daddy." So here's the origin. A fan called him that, and he stuck with it. Anyway, Sting and Savage versus Hogan and Hall.
Hey, listen. The good news, they had something resembling a tag match for a while.
This was pretty good,
They
actually.
actually had a main event.
They did. Oh, as opposed to doing 1 minute and then a run in?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did 6 minutes and then a run in.
We got 6 minutes before our fucking run in.
Yeah. I like that they got the heat on Savage, hot tag to Sting. Sting's entire comeback was 2 Stinger splashes, Scorpion. Just get right to the point. And then the NWO attacked for the DQ.
This show.
We've hit the era where every show is going to have Hogan speaking for 5 minutes, saying nothing, and every main event is going to end with an NWO DQ run-in.
Haven't we had that for at least 6 months now?
Has it?
I'm just pointing out that nothing changes ever on this show.
Yeah. So there's a big brawl. Beefcake hits Savage with a stunner. Not very good.
And you know what? It is true. Nothing ever changes on this show. And anytime there's something that starts to get over, unplanned, it's over. Why the hell do you think that you're not going to see Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho as a team for any length of time?
Because they were great.
Fucking getting over. Yeah. Bret Hart and Ric Flair had a great match. Everybody went nuts for it. They got taken off television. Now they come back and Bret's feuding with Bryan Adams. Dude, the show's dying a death. This was right around the time that I wrote that one article in 98 about how, goddamn, they're doing great business, but look at this shit. I recognized it much earlier the second time around.
Yeah, Brutus Beefcake ended up saving Hogan. And as Beefcake was pulling him to the back, Hogan finally identifies this man. "Good job, disciple. You saved me, brother." And that's how they identified Brutus the Barber Beefcake. This man, who has been a friend of Hogan's for years, is now the disciple.
The disciple. Did you notice the disciple hit a stone cold stunner?
I did say that.
And they officially removed it from Disco's repertoire.
Yeah.
He can no longer do the Chartbuster.
That's right.
Because they gotta give it to the disciple.
Tragic.
What the fuck? There you go, everybody.